that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, it was with some great excitement about a year or so ago when they announced that they were going to make a live action Legend of Zelda movie. And there was some debate about whether they should do it animated or live action. I was firmly in the camp of doing it live action. I think you got to do this thing live action. There have been some rumors that have gone around about who they may cast as what, but now it is official. Variety has reported that they have cast Link and Zelda for the upcoming live action Legend of Zelda movie. As they write, live action movie casts Bo Bragason and Benjamin Evan Ainsworth as Zelda and Link. And we get I got to say it, man. That kid looks like Link.
Yeah.
You put the white wig on him.
Yeah.
That kid kind of looks like Link. Anyway, if you don't know who either of these kids are, they're both very experienced. She is an English stage performer, as well as been in some movies and TV shows. Anyway, Variety writes this. English actor Bragason, that's who's going to play Zelda, is known for her roles in the BBC One series Three Girls and The Jetty, as well as Disney Plus's Renegade Nell. I haven't seen any of those. Last year, she starred in Eurolin's vampire comedy, The Radleys. Ainsworth, who is also English, was the voice of Pinocchio in the unfortunate Robert Zemeckis' live-action Pinocchio, and played Miles in the Netflix series The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Wow.
He also stars in the Canadian comedy series Son of a Critch, which is actually really funny. It's not quite as good as Schitt's Creek, but it's pretty damn funny. And appeared in episodes of Netflix's The Sandman. So there you go. They've made it official. That's our Zelda, and that's our Link. Now, again, I cannot recall seeing either of them. Like, I saw Bly Manor, and I can't remember him in it, and I obviously didn't go to the West End to see her on stage. But the fact that, have you noticed a trend more and more? They're getting these younger actors who actually have stage experience.
Well, that's the best way to go.
It is absolutely the best way to go. So, look, the big thing here to me is that progress is happening. They got
tangibility, Joe.
Yeah, it's the tangibilization, if you will. Wes Ball is directing, which I'm very excited about, especially because I loved his Apes movie. I really did. It's not the best of all the Apes movies, but I thought he did a great job with it. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with this. I'm just really excited about it. You know what's funny, Rob? Yesterday or a couple of days ago, we were talking about Peter Jackson and how it's been 11 years since he's directed a theatrical narrative film. And we asked the audience, what would you like to see him? A lot of people wrote in that they'd like to see Peter Jackson direct Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
Which would be pretty badass. But again, I'm very happy with the director they have. Anyway, Rob, here we are. We've now got our Zelda. We've got our Link. What's your first impressions?
I think they're fine choices. I mean, the kid, like you said, looks like Link. And the fact that we have kids that are theatrically trained. I mean, it used to be that actors, you know, when studio contract players, they would have to take singing lessons, they would have to take acting lessons, dancing lessons, they'd have to learn their craft. I think it's great to see younger actors who have a pedigree that are hired to be in these IPs. Because,
and by the way, both of them did in England did drama school before even doing all their stuff.
I mean, that they've got the tools, they have the talent to pull these things off. Because remember, these IPs, man, if you think about them, they're going to go on and they want to make 3 movies, you know, and these kids, they have to hold their own if they don't cast these properly. I mean, that's why I'm excited for Harry Potter. David Cornsweet. I mean, it cracks me up that if you watch Pearl, that you can see Pearl kill David Cornsweet with a pitchfork, you know, and James Gunn saw that and said, that guy could be Superman. You have people out there that are now making really interesting casting choices that will pay off in the long run. And that's the way it should be. And I really like that that's what is happening. You know, I'm a big meritocratist. If you have actors that have put in the time and done the work and bring something to the table already, you're only going to wind up with a good movie. You got to have people that are good rather than just hiring the next pretty face. So I love this.
By the way, I still see the debate online. Even today, I saw the debate still kind of raging online about whether or not they should have indeed started the process of developing a live action film as opposed to animated. The reason I personally still love this idea of doing it live action is I didn't want another version of the Mario Brothers movie.
Right.
Which, the Mario Brothers movie is a fine movie, but I think with this world of Zelda, you've got some pretty, and I'll use the word epic visual possibilities. And like you go and for the Peter Jackson, you go shoot this thing in New Zealand. You give this thing these broad sweeping landscapes, these giant, amazing creatures. I mean, I just think this done live action, done live well. I think the ceiling for a live action film is higher than if it was an animated film. I think it would be a safer bet to do it as an animated film. And safer is not a bad thing. I think it would absolutely be a safer thing to do it as an animated film. But the animated film can only reach such a height.
Yeah.
I think the potential for it, I mean, sky's the limit for it if they do it well. How are you feeling right now about the whole animated to live action thing?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it depends though. Like an epic fantasy like this, we've seen what a live action epic fantasy will look like. We've seen Lord of the Rings. Heck, we've seen it in How to Train Your Dragon could look. I think it's much more difficult to take a Super Mario world and move that into live action than it is to move something like Zelda into live action, because if you move Mario into live action, the world that it takes place in there is no live action, something that's analogous to it. The world itself it's always going to remain a very much a fantasy world. Whereas Zelda, you're in a forest, and that's a real location. But if you're going to like show us a live action Mario Kart, where does that racing, where does that, racetrack exist in the real world? So it's a different thing. I mean, I think it's a really interesting balance. Like, I know you're not a fan of Speed Racer. I think the racing in Speed Racer puts a lot of people off because the cars are spinning around and the physics of it, you're not looking at a real race car. And I think that in a way that wasn't, and the way they filmed it with the backgrounds, it's kind of this weird hybridization. They didn't go fully into live action. So I think it's a hard line to follow. You have to make the decision. But I think that Zelda is a perfect, having How to Train Your Dragon, I would imagine Zelda would have something along those lines. It would feel something along those lines because they retained,
I think that's a good comparison.
Yeah, they retained the look of the dragons. They didn't redesign the dragons from the animated show. They made those dragons work in a live action context, that was their dragons. They didn't make them look like the dragons in the Desolation of Smaug, for instance. Right. And if they had done that, that would have been a betrayal of How to Train Your Dragon. So I think that this could really, as a live action movie, this is the way to go for this, because I want to see that. The video game's already animated. Show me something different.
By the way, I'll say this. You know how I was saying that going animated is the safer route, but your potential is higher for the live action? I will also say this. The potential for it being a disaster is also greater.
Yes.
That's why I said it's safer to do animated, because this thing could go really bad, really fast, but it could also be much better than expected.
Yes. Yes.
By the way, just a quick side note, because you were mentioning some of the numbers, and How to Train Your Dragon is closing in on $500 or $600 million.
Crazy.
Today, one of the trades has reported that Lilo and Stitch has now become the first film of 2025 to join the $1 billion club. Woo. So congratulations to Lilo and Stitch for that. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? We now have our Zelda and we now have our Link. I think they look great, and their resumes are certainly impressive, especially for their ages. How are you liking it? How are you feeling right now about the whole live action versus animation thing? I've always been on the side of live action, but maybe you still think they should have done it animated. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.